All right, welcome to Lecture 2, Part B. This part of the lecture was done live in class, so if you missed class, this is what we looked at the end of the lecture, which is very short compared to Part 1. We're going to look at the corresponding assignment, Assignment 2, as well as some examples of what the assignment is looking for. Let's get started. All right, so the previous lecture, Lecture 2, Part 1, we learned about the elements of a page and we talked about the acronym HOUSE, which as you recall stands for Hierarchy, Alignment, Unity, and Space. So now that we've thoroughly discussed how to arrange, your compositions and how to create compelling designs, we are going to look a little more specifically at the actual arrangement and relationship between type and images and compositions. So there are three main ways to drive your visual communication. You can either have a type-driven design, like on the left, an image-driven design, like in the center, or basically a combination of type and image. So it's called a type image emblem. Just means combo. All right, so that's really high level. Your design communication is going to fall within one of these three buckets. It's going to be type driven, image driven, or a combination of both where the image and the text are working together and of equal importance. All right, let's look at each of these in a little more detail. All right, so the type and image relationships. So there's a couple different ways in which your type and your image can work together. So one of those ways would be type as a supporting partner, right? So if you have an image-driven design, the typography and the text is obviously going to take a back seat to the visuals. So the ad on the left for tomato ketchup, the image, the photograph, is obviously a very compelling image. It's weird, it's intriguing, it's the focal point of this ad. So because this ad is all about the picture, the text is small, it's at the bottom of the page, it's easy to read, but it's not detracting from the visual. This is an image-driven composition, and type is acting as a supporting partner to the image. It's giving context to the visual. The next, or the center ad, or poster, this composition, there's a big visual and there is some type. I would still call this an image-driven poster, since the dog on the tricycle is clearly the focal point. It has the most detail and color. It's in the center of the page. It's very large. The cursive type underneath it that says paleface would be considered sympathetic type. That just means that the typeface and the type design is related to and sort of like mimicking the visual, right? So it's like a symbol. The color is picked up in the illustration. It has like a very hand-done, organic feel to the word paleface, which seems to go hand in hand with the illustration style of the dog on the tricycle. So because they're working in unison, it's called a sympathetic type treatment. Okay? And then your last option is when you're doing something that's more overtly contrasting and also usually like ironic. So if you remember the first lecture, we looked at Herbert Lubelin's examples, and he had that first poster that was like, something about a diplomat, and he'll tell you to go to hell. And go to hell was in that very elaborate cursive script font. That was definitely like being ironic and using a contrasting typeface to what the message is saying. So these are more examples of that same concept, right? The top one says, keep it simple, yet the typeface used is super elaborate, right? The opposite of simple. So definitely being ironic and being overtly opposite to the message. And then the second one says, "Donut go further without consent," right? It's kind of being it's aloof basically. It's a funny message. It's being kitschy, but it's underlying a very serious issue, right? Obviously, it's a message on top of a condom wrapper. So again, using type for different reasons and for different design aesthetics as well, right? So different ways we can use text and how it relates to images. All right, so next, type and image positioning strategies. We talked about alignment a lot in the first part of this lecture and different ways you can organize the elements of your design to create interesting designs. This is just 3 more ways to really think about your composition. So starting on the left, this is an example of separation, meaning that the image and the text are separate from each other. They are not touching, right? There is very clearly an image on the top of this poster and very clearly text at the bottom. So having text and images separate from each other is one positioning strategy. The next center option is called extrapolation. That is when the text is on top of the image. Oftentimes, there will be like a transparent colored box or some other graphic treatment to aid in the readability of the text on top of the image, which in this case you can see that blue X. So that is called extrapolation, when the text is on top of the image. And there can definitely be a graphic element to help create readability of the text. And then the third option of positioning is integration, where the text and the image are working as one and they are intertwined in each other, right? So separation was text and image were completely separate. Extrapolation is text is on top of image as like a separate top layer. But then integration is when the text and the image are more integrated and woven together. You can kind of see that by this example, right? So the headline of this poster is definitely interwoven into the actual photography and imagery of the design, right? They're like, the text is at the same perspective skew as those blue rectangles, and they're all kind of on top of the photograph of the person, and it's all very surreal, but all very much one single design unit. So you can really see how that has a different aesthetic than the center option of extrapolation, where the text is really just like placed on top of a photograph. All right, I've got a few more examples of each of these types of positioning strategies. All right, so here are some more examples of separation. So the one on the left is a website, I believe. Yeah, it was a website. It's a website screenshot I took. So you can see here all of the text is in like these colored boxes, and they're separate from not only each other, but from the imagery as well, right? So even if you just look at like the main image on the website, the airplane photo is on the left, and then there's a gray box of text on the right. That whole banner, horizontal banner area is like the whole image banner, but the design has separated the picture from the text. So that's an example of separation. Similarly, the pink poster in the center, right? There's a photograph and there's text, and they are not overlapping in any sense, right? So you can have a more interesting composition than just like image on top, text on the bottom, like that blue Valentine poster. or you can have something very straightforward. Basically, as long as your text and your pictures are not touching, it's considered separation. Alright, so here are some more examples of extrapolation when the text is on top of the image. And you can see there's a variety of systems at work here to help give legibility to the text on top of photographs. So you can see things like colored rectangles that are either opaque or semi-transparent. You can see putting the text over like darker sections or quieter sections of the photograph to aid in readability. There's circles, there's rectangles, there's strips. There's many different ways, but in all of these examples, it's text on top of picture. And here are some examples of integration, where the text and the image are really working together as one unified design element. Okay? So you've got things like the like crazy and the four-leaf clover thing below it, right, where the photograph is like above and below the text to play with that sense of spatial depth, right? And then even something like the next posters to the right, the 19 and then the theater, I'm not sure what that is, program cover maybe, where again, it's not extrapolation, it's integration, because there is a little bit of a sense of surrealism and playing with depth, right? Because some of the letters are cut off and they're kind of like above but hidden with the image. They're working directly with the visuals. Here are a couple more examples of integration. Again, it can be very overt, like some of these examples, like the bicycle one, right, where we're playing with that sense of spatial depth, or that ad on the far right where the text is like running along the perspective of the corridor. Or it can be something much more subtle, like the first one, the pink one that says Hong Kong, and the text is a little challenging to read because it kind of falls into those like circle graphics near the bottom. But if you can tell, it says Hong Kong, and the ON of Kong is the purple tint, where it's like double meaning, and then it says on, right? So the design of the graphic elements and the text and the whole composition is really working together, where I've considered that integration more than extrapolation. All right, so that's this whole lecture. Hopefully that gave you a little bit more to think about while you're creating your compositions to create interesting designs, specifically thinking about the relationship between the text and the images in your compositions. What we're going to do with this information is let's go back and consult the assignment 2. Alright, so back on Google Drive, assignment 2. We will open the assignment. Alright, let's review the assignment together as we did in class. This, lost the headline here. This theater poster assignment, the purpose is to experiment with combining typography and imagery to create effective visual layouts, to focus on concept as the primary driver behind your creative choices, and to practice working through the full creative process. Alright, so I'm going to show you a bunch of theater posters, but you've also been looking at a lot of other visual examples through all of these lectures. And all of the posters, or hopefully all the designs that I've pulled, have been using text and images in interesting ways to help express a certain emotion or concept. to set a tone, or otherwise tell a visual story. So in this assignment, you will each select an unpublished play from a provided list, and you're going to develop a promotional poster. So we're going to really focus on your creative execution, expressing the main theme or mood of the play to entice people to buy tickets. During this assignment, we're going to explore many design solutions to our design challenge and bring a few options to like a comping stage before ultimately choosing the most successful poster design to finish to completion. So part of this assignment will be about conceptual brainstorming. Another part of it will be about exploring appropriate imagery and type relationships and creating to visually express our concepts. And then the last part of the assignment will be about creating layout options that explore the 3 positioning strategies we just discussed in the lecture: separation, extrapolation, and integration. But in the end, you're going to end up with one hopefully super awesome poster. We're going to make it large scale, and you're going to print it out in color at 16 by 20 inches for our final group critique. So we're going to work through the creative process together. There'll be many deadlines and in-process critiques along the way, and your grade will be as much about a well-designed, conceptually interesting final poster as it will be about completing all the process steps along the way. So you can reference back to this assignment on Drive throughout the process. It's going to take a few weeks to complete this poster. And you can see here I have the due dates of what's happening. So it's week 3 right now. For next class, you're going to complete this initial research inspiration phase, and then we'll go from there. So in the end, your final poster is due on week 6. So we're going to work on this for 3 weeks. Okay. The first step would be to read through the play synopses that I've provided and select your subject matter. So that is back on Drive right here, script synopsis. So there are a handful of unpublished plays here. These are the title and the author, little description. Some of them have more to say than others, but all of them are clickable to actually read the play itself. For now, I would just read the descriptions and find a play that you think sounds interesting and you want to focus on. Okay, so that will be the first step. Once I've selected a play, you're going to click on the link and actually read the play. Most of these plays are very short, like under 20 pages, and that's like, script pages, so there's a lot of direction and it's not like a ton of reading, but you're going to read the play. Okay, so after you've read the play, I want you to go back and read the play again. Obviously, you don't have to do it back to back. You could space this out over the course of a couple of days if you need to, but read the play again. And this time, highlight any text or take notes on some of the key scenes and characters, etc. Your notes might be words or they might be pictures, but the goal of this second read through is to hone in on the key aspects of the play, right? Because we're trying to come up with visual creative concepts to create posters for these plays. So once you've read the play the first time, reread the play and really hone in on what are the key things that you want to highlight or might want to highlight for your poster design. I specifically would like you to write down 3 to 5 words or phrases that sum up the play. Okay? These might be tonal, emotional, locations, or anything else that you find really important to expressing the main idea of the play. Okay, so it could be like spooky, isolation, St. Louis, whatever the main ideas around the play are. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to create a mood board that reflects the keywords you wrote down. Okay, so photographs, type, textures, other posters or designs, anything you want, but I want you to find at least 20 things that visually express the 3 to 5 words that you wrote down. So if you wrote down, like spooky isolation, I would imagine a lot of like dark forests or like single moonbeam on a rock and like nothing around, right? Dark images, isolation images, right? To help express those ideas. You can create your mood board either as a Pinterest board that you're going to share with the class and me, or you can create a contact sheet in Photoshop and export out a PDF. It's up to you. Next class, though, week 4, we are going to do a group check-in. So you're going to share basically a summary of your play, tell us high level what the play was about, tell us your keywords, and show us your mood board. So your peers will kind of be able to just give you like a gut check, like, yes, your description of the play seems to match your keywords and your mood board seems to, relate to those words. So they will challenge any of the, clarity of your summary or how your mood board and your keywords are relating to that summary. So hopefully by the end of the check-in, you'll have a very clear vision for your poster. And then in class next week, we'll move on to the brainstorming concepting stage. So I'm not going to go over that now, but this is what we're going to do between now and Wednesday. Okay? So complete steps 1 through 3. All right, let's look at some examples of theater posters to help start our inspiration. Just a few examples of visual inspiration. All right, so theater posters. If you've ever wandered downtown, I guess it's really uptown from SIBA, but over to like the Fox Theater, the Theater District, right? There's always these like really large posters. If you've ever been to New York City or Chicago, the Theater District, big posters to grab your attention and just give you a little hint of what the play is about to get you excited and interested and to buy tickets, right? So that's what we're going to create, a large scale, colorful poster to express the concept of the play you've chosen. All right, so here are just some more examples, right? So the design aesthetic, the font choices, the image type relationship is all going to be dependent on the play you've chosen and the creative concept that you are looking to articulate. Okay? More than likely, your posters will be image driven or a combination of image and type, but they absolutely could be text driven as well if you feel like that is the most appropriate aesthetic for your play and your creative concept. But you can see there are many aesthetics, many different ways you can do this. You will notice that all these posters have a minimal amount of text. I have provided a very short bit of information that you will include on your poster. Otherwise, it will just be the title of your play, the author, and my little bit of information, which is like a date, Fox Theater, and maybe like one other thing. We'll look at it on Drive. Okay. You can use photography, you can use illustration. The choice is yours. All right, that's the end of my examples, but hopefully that kind of gave you a sense of what we're talking about here when we say theater poster. All right, and this PowerPoint of inspiration is on Drive as well. All right, so if I scroll to the bottom of the assignment, the mandatory elements are the play title, the playwright, which both of those things you'll find right here. And then it will say Fabulous Fox Theater, July 15th to October 7th, 2021. It's all the information you're going to have on your poster, so you have plenty of room for your design. Okay? All right. I will add the PDF of these inspirations right here. So sorry, they're missing at the moment. Okay. Hopefully that helps you out. You should work this week between week 3 and week 4 to complete the first 3 steps of the assignment again. Pick a play, read the play again, write down keywords, create a mood board. All right, good luck.